Mm. Now that was a performance. And the performance I'm talking about is Terence Crawford with a dominant performance, dominant decision over Viktor Postol for the WBO, the WBC, the ring, the Lineal, super lightweight, junior welterweight, light welterweight, 140-pound championship of the world. Man, it was just an excellent performance. He looked like he was having a little bit of trouble with Postol early on. They were both playing a little bit of a timing game with each other. Playing a little bit of tag your it at the very beginning. They both landed a couple good shots here and there through pretty much the first 4 rounds, which I know a lot of people probably had even, or I mean I know a couple people probably like even had Postol up probably through the first 4 rounds. Personally, I had a 3-1 Crawford through the first four. I thought he was landing just a little bit, just a tad cleaner in those early rounds. Postol was landing some of his own though, but from round 5 on, it seemed like Crawford really just started to take over. With the exclamation point coming in round 7, where he dropped Viktor Postol twice. Very open into the round. It caught him with a nice right hook up top of the head, right a little bit behind where the temple is, like between the temple and the occiput. The occiput is the actual location of what a rabbit punch. If you didn't know, you have to literally punch somebody at the very back of the head, which is where the brainstem is at. That's called the occipital area, the occipital lobe or the occiput for people that know their anatomy. But in any case, it was a perfectly legal punch. He dropped Postol basically on a knee, and hard shot. Postol wasn't terribly hurt by it. It was just a nice hard shot with Postol not very well balanced, and he stunned him a little bit. Stunned him further in that round though, and managed to actually make him touch with his glove a little bit later on with another barrage of punches. And just from that point on, Postol was trying to get back into the fight, looking to try and track Crawford down, land his own big shots. But it always just seemed like he was a step behind. Crawford was just a step ahead of him. His timing was just too sharp. Movement was too good. He just put it really all together. Both southpaw and orthodox, he was landing vicious shots with both the right and the left hand. Just an excellent all-around fighter is what Crawford is. Very good on the front foot, very good on the back foot, very complete skill set. A lot of fighters, especially nowadays, a lot of these guys that get really heavily hyped, they may only be able to do one thing really well. They can either come forward and be an excellent offensive fighter or an excellent offensive fighter while showing a lot of good defense. I mean, for instance, Rashid Warren. Rashid Warren, I think, has a lot of skills, but he's a guy where if he's not moving his hands, if he's not being offensive, his defense goes out the window as well. His defense just isn't there when his offense isn't there as well. He has to be moving his hands in order for his whole body to be moving. With Crawford, he can do a little bit of either or both at the same time. He could be moving his hands, moving his body at the same time, or he could be, moving around, dancing around with his legs, using his footwork to set up shots, and then immediately counter with some heavy, hard shots, well balanced, well placed, not necessarily just slaps or pitter patter. He's coming at you with clean, hard, effective, well leveraged shots. And that's pretty much what told the tale here. Just managing to almost use Postol's length and height against him, where he was almost making Postol just lean in a little bit too much, get a little bit too off balance, and just catching him clean with just hard, effective shots. And just pretty much dominated on the way through until the 12th, where he started to open up a little bit more, looking to try and put the exclamation point on it with finality, trying to knock Viktor Postol out. Wasn't able to get it, but in spite of that, Postol hit him with a couple shots too. But in spite of the fact that Crawford wasn't able to get the knockout, it was just about as complete a performance as you could get, especially when it's generally thought of as a 50-50 type of fight going into it. A lot of people were picking Postol, a lot of people were picking Crawford. It was fairly split in spite of the fact that, the bookies, the odds makers had it a bit wider on the 5-1 tip. But most of the hardcore fans and the people in the boxing community on a lot of these shows on YouTube, on forums, what have you, were thinking that this was, a very evenly matched fight. Two undefeated world champions, dead set smack in the middle of their primes, basically coming in and looking to do it. And Crawford just managed to pull off an excellent performance. I see this performance to be a bit of a breakout performance for Crawford, similar to the way that I thought it was when he defeated Yuriorkis Gamboa. Because before that, there was still some questions being asked of Crawford with regard to if he was truly, like the number one fighter at lightweight, if he was truly the man to really be reckoned with at lightweight. And I think here it was more of a question of is he the man to be reckoned with not only at 140 but 147. Now, of course, you can't say that he's the absolute best guy at 147 right now. This fight was at 140. But, I mean, considering his size, length, his fight night weight, that he came in at 157 tonight compared to Postol's 152. And I know that the scales aren't, dead dead set accurate the way that the official scales are. He could have been wearing clothes, could have been wearing some heavy boots or what have you. But regardless, Crawford's build, his overall, just the way he's put together, his body, and compared to the way he looked at 135 to how he looks now, and comparing how he looks in the weigh-ins to how he looks in the ring, I do think that the extra weight helps him. I think it helps him both for his chin. I think it helps his timing. I think it helps his stamina. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that for some of you guys out there that have ever done certain sporting events, especially endurance events like long distance running, after you do that run, after you do that race, what have you, you just feel drained because a lot of that fluid, a lot of that salt, the electrolytes, the fluid, the sugar, the glycogen in your blood is not there anymore. And so you just feel drained. And making weight for these guys is like that double fold, basically, 2 or 3 fold. And so just even the 24 hours to regain that weight, sometimes guys don't regain it optimally. Sometimes they almost like water down their electrolytes a little bit too much. They may just come in bloated, or they may come in and not necessarily have rehydrated enough. They probably could have even more weight to gain, which is part of the reason why sometimes you see certain guys on out of season, so to speak, out of camp, and they're way bigger than they are even on fight night. If you look at Timothy Bradley, for instance, who was in the crowd for the Postol Crawford fight, Bradley looked easily about 185, 190, just eyeing it when he was in the crowd rooting for his homeboy Terence Crawford. But that's all besides the point. I do think that Terence Crawford can carry his just overall ability, skills, and weight really at 147. I think he's perfectly in line with a lot of the top fighters there in terms of size and strength, and especially in terms of skills. I think even if he was potentially out-muscled by some of these guys, like I don't think he'd be able to kind of go in there and really bully somebody like a Keith Thurman or a Sean Porter, for instance. I do think that his skills would make up in a lot of ways for that, and it would be very competitive fights with just about anybody there. Just like at 140, really, I think he's definitely the man to beat now. The clear number one, the clear champion, the man of the division. Even at 135, he didn't even necessarily have this air about him. A lot of people were calling him the man of the division, but he didn't quite have that one fight where it's like he unified. And the Granbo fight was a great win, but it wasn't one of those like real putting your name down as like I'm the man. Like this is my division. This is what it is. You got to get through me in order to call yourself the best. That's what he is right now at 140. And I think should he choose to move up to 147, I think he's ready and willing to make the top fights. I think he's ready and willing to make the Manny Pacquiao fight. And I personally would love to see that fight. I thought it was kind of a shame that they weren't able to get it made this year, and especially in light of how well he did against Viktor Postol. I think a lot of the people that were probably doubting him before this fight in a potential matchup with Manny Pacquiao are probably, at the very least, rethinking their view on the fight, their point of view, and exactly how they think that fight may come about and may turn out. And I'm definitely in that league, in spite of the fact that I always rated Crawford very highly, and I always gave him a solid shot at defeating Manny Pacquiao. And I definitely would now, especially considering what I saw there. I was saying that Crawford would beat Postol, but it's a different thing when you call something ahead of time and then when you actually see it in front of your eyes. I thought Oscar Valdez was going to take care of business against Reda, for instance. I'll get to that in the next video. But it's a whole different thing to actually see it in front of you and just be like, damn, it's a different thing to imagine it in your head and to actually see it play out in front of you, especially when what you see exceeds your expectations of what you had in your head. And that's definitely what Crawford did here tonight against Viktor Postol. Just I really can't put too much more emphasis on how good of a win this is. Definitely one of the best wins of the year. Possibly making Crawford a fighter of the year candidate, depending on what happens throughout the rest of the year, and potentially if he has another fight to close it out, and puts on another star-studded performance such as what he did here. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. And I think Crawford's got just a very fun to watch future. Very, very, very close in front of him. Pacquiao's talking about coming back, and in spite of the fact that Broner and Garcia look like they may be processing themselves out, I do think that Crawford is one of these guys that is willing to take short money in the hypothetical. Well, I mean, I guess that you might say in the hypothetical way of things, short money, quote unquote, in order to try and get that win, because that win is very, 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 very rewarding in spite of whatever you happen to get paid on the fight. 2-3 million for trying to stamp a legend on your record is a very big deal, and I do think that should Crawford manage to do that and pull it off, it'd be huge. It'd be like this, not just like this win over Postol added to the win over Gambo put together, but almost like the two of them multiplied against each other. Crawford could potentially become a breakout star off of that, more of a crossover star, which is something that a lot of people are clamoring for. But just overall, an excellent win. I'm hoping for the best for Crawford's near future. And I want to see him in tough competitive fights. I want to see every fighter that's a high level fighter, that's an elite level fighter in tough competitive fights. And Crawford is no exception to the way I think about that. So I'd love to see him against Manny Pacquiao before too much time passes from here on out. And and then some of the other high-level welterweights, some of the other prime world champion welterweights. We'll see how it happens. We'll see how some of these guys start to turn out. This 2016, man, is looking like just a hell of a year with a lot of these fights that have happened so far and that even have yet to happen. So just excellent win. Props to Terence Crawford, and props to Viktor Postol for taking a risky fight like this. I do think that he'll still be difficult for most of the guys at 140 or even possibly 147 to defeat. Very, very difficult fighter in spite of the fact that Crawford just put on a masterful performance over him. But love this fight, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too as much as I did, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.